Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. Hey, happy Tuesday. It is officially the last episode of season 3. How did we get here? Where did the time go? Has it really been a year since I started season 3? That sounds wild to me. So I'm repeating last year's trend where I take August off. Usually I take January off from clinical work. So every January I'm usually in my house on a staycation because something about going outside in the cold is just not for me. And then I usually take August off from entrepreneurship. So from this business, usually also from clinical medicine if I can do it. But this August I'm working a little bit. But the August schedule is shaping up real nice, I gotta say. Same time as last year when I restarted season 3, I had just returned from the National Medical Association conference, which was in New Orleans last year. This year it's in New York, and I am speaking. I'm so pumped. So if you're in New York or if you're already planning to attend NMA, make sure you check out the women's section. I'll be speaking on Monday, August 5th at the Sheraton. And I'm talking about all things negotiation. I'm going to be sharing my story, which some of you have heard. I'm going to be talking about contracts. I think I only have 25 minutes, and y'all know I could do this whole episode alone for 25 minutes. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to cut that short, but it's going to be really good. I'm really excited about it. And I hope that if you're around in town planning to attend, that you come to that section. Then, of course, at the end of this month, I'll be back to living my passenger princess life in Ghana. I did the same thing last year. My Ghanaian boyfriend spends so much of the year in Ghana because he's got some real estate projects he's working on and they really do need his time and attention. And so he goes back and forth. And so I go back and forth. So most of my listeners, I think if you guys are regulars here, you know my story, but I'm predicting some new listeners after NMA, the National Medical Association Conference. If you are new, I am a pediatrician trained in global health. I am a doctor who's in control of her career. I control the way I practice. I control how often I practice. Right now I'm taking monthly vacations. And I preach that you can create any kind of life that you want. I know it sounds unrealistic, stick with me, but it's just because you've probably seen so many cases of the opposite or are living the opposite, and you haven't seen or heard a strategy that takes you forward in that direction. So I always say that you are actually in control of your life. Right? Everything you do is a choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but there's always a choice. And we talk a lot about burnout as a part of the culture of medicine, where everybody feels exhausted. And we recognize that it is absolutely a systemic problem. We are definitely in a capitalistic system. We're definitely in a profits over people system, 1,000%. There's a push to have doctors see more and more patients, to have less and less support, less and less time for themselves. There's this feeling of sometimes that you're a cog in the wheel, that you're replaceable, even though it's not true. That is a pervasive part of the culture. And so the wave I'm seeing is that when people are talking about it, there's a defensiveness where we've gotten to the point where we realize it's not our fault and that we didn't create the conditions that cause burnout. And therefore, it's not up to us to figure out the way to fix it. That is more than resilience, right? And I say to a certain degree that's true, but there's a certain degree that's not true. Because if we just say, it's not our fault, we're just going to be hands off about this, it's not going to get fixed. No one's going to recognize your value all of a sudden, right? You can quit as many jobs as you want to. You can leave and move into non-clinical careers. none of that impacts the system. You actually do have power to impact the medical system, and it's not about resilience. It's about boundaries, honestly, and taking control of your job and how that has the positive trickle down effects. The more you take care of yourself, the better you are able to practice, the longer you're able to practice, suddenly your career becomes sustainable and you have better patient outcomes. So for me, taking control also meant that I learned to love medicine again. And let me tell you, in 2021, when I finished my global health fellowship, actually, even in 2019, when I finished my pediatric residency, you could not have convinced me that I was going to love medicine. It just was not, it was not even in the realm of possibility. I was so tired after training. I hadn't even been an attending yet. In fellowship, technically, I worked as an attending because global health fellowship, but you could not have convinced me that I was going to tell you that I liked medicine. I was ready to burn it all down, quit everything, because the medical industrial complex had gotten its claws in me. I felt like I was the cog in the wheel. I felt like an unimportant part of the system. There was so much scope creep. There was so much demand on my time. Everyone was telling me what to do. And I was drowning trying to meet everyone's expectations. And I hated the whole thing. That's actually what got me to this point. Is I hit a point in my career where I just was ready to throw in the towel, and I couldn't afford to do that because you come out of training, you were brokes.com. So what I ended up doing was shifting into this locums position. And when you're at the brink of walking out, it's so much easier to be like, F it. Listen, this is what I need. And if y'all can't do it, out. So I think that's how I started negotiating. Now, that is not the place I teach people to negotiate from, because I don't think that's actually very helpful. But I think that attitude, that mindset of what I want is non-negotiable, can be helpful. I think that all of that, really, like practicing the way I want, determining that I only wanted to work part-time. I have never worked full-time as an attending since I finished training. Came straight out of training, went straight into part-time, living my best life. Cannot do the full-time life. It's not for me. Some people like it. It's not my cup of tea. But all of these things helped shape like my return back into loving clinical medicine. Actually, I'm about to go to work and I might be a little late recording this podcast, but I still do clinic. Thursday is my clinic day. Yes, I'm in clinic once a week. Most weeks I do virtual on Tuesdays. So that's 2 days. I'm given 2 days. See, I'm flexible. But the thing that I want to emphasize is there are so many people who have lost their joy of practice, and it's not because they lost their joy with patient interactions. They've just lost their joy due to the process. And I thought, okay, if I could find my way back through negotiation, through self-advocacy, through having some real good boundaries, and I could teach other people how to do that, that would mean that we would retain more Black doctors in medicine. And we know that's critical, right? Women doctors have better outcomes. Black doctors have significant impact. There's a study, my favorite study, I think it's JAMA, and it talks about how a single Black doctor increases the life expectancy of all Black constituents in that county, including the ones they do not treat. You have impact on all people in a county. That's crazy impact. Like, your reach is ridiculous. So my concept of teaching people how to have the kind of careers they want, live the kind of life they want, means that people like me who thought they were going to leave medicine and never return are still practicing in some capacity and probably can do that for a longer period of time. So it's not just me. I have an OB/GYN client who came to me in her first year out of training, hated the job, was in a 3-year contract. So we did our contract negotiations to get her out of that situation, to break contract, and to get her into a different position. And really, she wasn't, you know what? I cannot actually remember if she totally was ready to quit. I know she was ready to quit that job, but she was pretty burnt out, a little bit depressed, quite frankly. And what ended up happening was we found her a new job that she loves. to the point where I might stay here a long time. I really love it. The staff is amazing. They see me, they appreciate me, they listen to me. I have no work drama like the last place where they were changing her schedules all the time, making her see more patients, doing all kinds of stuff all over the place that just wasn't conducive with good health care. Now she's in a totally different place, practicing differently. And she's, girl, I have discovered that I'm interested in menopause medicine. I would have never thought. She's like, I have interest in learning robotic surgeries. I would have never thought, because honestly, I just wanted to get in, do my little labor, be a laborist, and get the heck out. And that's the thing. If you are able to finally get out of this oppressive work environment, you might find some interest that you never had interest in. You release the stress, you get out of the mind spiral. It's so freeing. You can catch your breath. You will actually have energy for interest. When you're exhausted, the only thing you can dream of is a way out. I was there. That's how I know. That's how I created the Black Doctor. At the end of fellowship, when I took my 2-month break after fellowship, being brokes.com, and I was trying to figure out what to do, I was literally like, how are we going to fix the medical system? What is the issue here? Why is everybody complaining of burnout? Everybody's exhausted to the point of wanting to quit or shift out. What is happening? And I looked at locums jobs. I looked at non-clinical jobs. I looked at starting my own business. And I ended up starting this business and teaching negotiation. But all of these things are just tools that move you towards the life you want. Really, they're not the destination. They're just the tools. They are the vehicle. They work how you work them. So everybody likes to run to locums or run to non-clinical. And I did. And I have no regrets about it. But the reason why is illuminating, right? I chose locums because I did not want to sign a 3-year job contract someplace I knew I would hate. I didn't like the options of only having clinic or only being in a hospital, having to do things the way they dictated on the schedule that they determined for the length of time that they chose. None of it seemed within my realm of control, and I was over it. Okay, I wanted to be able to rest when I wanted to. I was so tired of self-sacrificing. It was not making me connect more to my patients because I didn't even want to be there. I wanted to regain control of my life. I felt like I had given so much up to medicine. Like all of my good 20s and 30s, I'm spending in medicine. I ain't got no man. I ain't got no hobbies. It just felt crazy. And I'm like, I'm giving up all my good years to medicine and it's not even loving me back. Trifling. It's like the toxic lover that you should run away from. I went into locums because it already seemed to have that structure of flexibility, the option to end a contract after a 30-day notice, the option to take breaks whenever I wanted to. There was so much within the structure. But the thing is, people come to locums and then they're still upset. And it's because they still don't know how to ask for what they want. They still don't know how to self-advocate. So you could be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire by changing jobs, running to non-clinical, running to locums, all of this stuff, because you still aren't using like a tool like negotiation to create the job environment in which you would actually thrive and be successful. Imagine thriving in medicine. So many people don't even know what that looks like. Have never seen it. Thriving, who's that? Don't know her. I know her. Let me tell you, I'm gonna hook you up. We can be besties. My point is, right, a lot of doctors are going through this. I have a client right now who we just put in her termination. She's also ending her contract early. Her job is the worst. They are so ineffective, and then their inefficiencies are impacting her schedule because now they want her to cover so many more extra shifts because they don't have good coverage and they're slamming her schedule and it's ridiculous. So we've submitted her resignation. She's about to be free 99 from these people. Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance, okay? She's leaving. And she's saying that she wants to look for remote. So I'm like, that's an interesting option, right? Most doctors, especially in clinical, if you're not like a radiologist or a pathologist, generally you're okay with dealing with people. So what is the push to move towards remote? So we started having these conversations And she was saying the reason it's stressful to be in person is that if she has a patient that she cannot serve, she wants to be able to refer them to the ER, to the urgent care. But she's getting penalized in her clinic for making referrals outside of that clinic. And so she feels robbed of her choice. And if she were to be remote, there's an automatic limitation on how she would be able to manage the patients. And because in a remote position, she would regain that ability to refer based on her clinical judgment. That's really what she's actually looking for. It's not that she wants to be remote, is that she wants to regain the ability to use her clinical judgment without penalization. Imagine that. Having that conversation allows me to help her find what she's looking for. And it's not necessarily that it's remote. It's really that she's looking for power, control over how she practices. Usually when we're trying to make an exit from a job or from medicine altogether, is that we're looking for choices that offer solutions to things we're like craving, right? So her solution is remote because it addresses her lack of autonomy. My solutions was locums or per diem because it addresses my need to take rest when I wanted to. I share these stories because I want you to see that there's so many options. There's so many ways that you can pivot and maybe not even leave clinical medicine. I have a million guest episodes, not a million. I have a handful of guest episodes where doctors are sharing both how they've continued to practice, what that looks like for them, or how they've left and shifted into other jobs, but have used their medical expertise to create the life and the lifestyles that they want and desire for themselves, for their families. The goal being in sharing these stories is to recognize burnout, sometimes before it's happening, but sometimes while you're in it, and see that there are ways out and that it doesn't look like any one solution. Honestly, I personally get more and more outrageous in what I'm asking for. So I started off asking for 4-day work weeks, no weekends, no nights. And now I'm at 2-day work weeks and I take vacations every month. So after taking January off from clinical medicine, I went to Mexico in February, took my mom for her birthday, milestone birthday. I was in Florida in March on a coaching retreat because I like to commune with other Black doctor coaches. April was my birthday month. I turned 40 and I went with my boyfriend to Grenada, which is where I went to med school, and then to the island of St. Vincent, which is where my family's from. And that took us into May. We came back at the beginning of May. And then 2 weeks later in May, I was down in Antigua, another coaching retreat. June, I went with all of my college friends and our nearest and dearest to Portugal. That carried us right into July because we came back at the beginning of July. And then August, I'm headed back to Ghana this year, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. September, I'm going to a PEDS conference in Florida. And then honestly, I might be done for the year because yes, that was the goal, but goals shift. This is a lot. Travel is expensive. I spend money like a drug dealer when I travel. So this is not probably my most financially feasible year. And not just that, I think I have other goals and other things that I want to get done. And it's a little bit hard to do that when you're gone every month. Although, you know what? I may be persuaded to do Dirty December in Ghana. We'll see. I say all this to say that we struggle in medicine because when it comes down to it, we know what we want. We know we want control. We know we want autonomy. We know we want agency. We want time freedom. We want financial freedom. And we can see that we're not getting it. Despite how hard we're working, how much effort we've put in. We've really front loaded years of our life to get here and hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've put in the expenses and we're not getting the outcome that we thought we were signing up for. It doesn't look anything like what we've envisioned. And we aren't always aware that we can ask for it or that it's even possible, because to ask for it, you need to know it's even possible. So sometimes we aren't even necessarily aware of why we want it. So with me, I wasn't sure why I wanted locums when I started it. I get it now. My client wasn't really sure that why she wanted remote. She just knew it felt like the right direction, and we discovered why. We're just all moving away from feelings of discomfort. So If you're new here or you're a regular, stick around. I tell lots of stories. We're coming back with season 4 in September. Honestly, I've always been a little bit bold. If you go back and listen to some of my stories, I've been bold, but I grow bolder by the day. If you don't already follow me on Instagram at The Block Doctor, you should, because it's where I share all things that are happening to me real time. I'm talking about things that come up in clinic. I'll be talking about the other attendings in clinic. I talk about conversations I have with the recruiters, and I am bold in that way because I think that these stories empower others. And if it means that at some point someone sees my Instagram and they're offended by it, then it wasn't for them. It's for you. And it's for you to understand that you can have a sustainable career in medicine if you understand that there's a strategy to this career. There's a strategy to creating the life that you want. There's a strategy to creating the job that you want, that supports you, that offers you all of the things that you need to live an amazing life. Okay. I demonstrate this in my stories about how I'm upholding my boundaries every day. It is a daily act. This is not a one-time thing. This is not just negotiate the contract, although that is really important and what I will be talking about at NMA. But that's one step in the list of steps to creating the kind of life where you do not feel exhausted all the time, where you do not feel like a cog in the wheel, okay? You have to do things every day that move you towards the life of your dreams. And don't make that sound like it's a burden or something heavy to bear. Some of that stuff is fun, okay? So I will be back in September. Until then, I want you to listen to some of these older episodes. Almost all of this season, honestly, is available for viewing on YouTube. So if you haven't seen the video version of this podcast, if you happen to just be listening to the audio, go on over to YouTube. If you're on YouTube, hey y'all. There's so much content here that I know is valuable and that has been proven valuable to others. So if you want to know my story, I have separate episodes on that. I think episode 38, which is the start of season 3, gives you a really good feel of who I am and my perspective. If that's what you're like trying to figure out, who the heck is this girl and what is she talking about? Go ahead and watch or listen to episode 38. I don't think that's a video version. I think that's just the audio. And then starting next season, very excited. I have every intention of hearing from you guys even more than I already do. So I'm going to ask here and on Instagram for questions that you have. And I want to answer more questions, maybe a question each episode. We'll see how many questions come in. I don't want you to be shy. If you have questions on how to make your career work, how to get what you want at work, how to change how you practice, how to have good boundaries at work, I want to hear them. I want to hear all of your questions and I want to start answering them. If you follow me on IG, like I said, just shoot me a DM with your questions. I'm also going to throw out polls every once in a while just to see what you guys are thinking about. If you're not on IG and you have a question, please just send me an email. It's theblackdoctor, the BLK doctor @gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I want to know. Let's get these conversations going. Enjoy your August. I hope that you have taken some time off to enjoy the summer at some point. And if not, it's still summertime. Do it. Even if it's a staycation, take a break. And I will see you guys next season. Thanks for listening. I so appreciate your time and the fact that you choose to spend time with me. Love you guys. Bye. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is link us everywhere you can. Instagram @The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.